Good evening, class. Good evening. Today we are gonna finish with hello, Guillermo. How are you today? Good evening.
Teacher, good. Very good.
Excellent. Thank you for attending my link because there was an issue with the link from the school, but I hope tomorrow it's gonna be okay, right? Everything is gonna be okay. That's why I couldn't see you today before 9, right? But tomorrow, yes, tomorrow I'm gonna see you guys at 8:30, right? Because remember that I won't be able to be with you this coming Friday, right? So at least tomorrow I'm gonna give you half of the class of the speaking Friday. And then what about next Tuesday? Is it okay for you on Tuesday to finish this speaking class? Mhm.
Yes, it is. Yes,
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. Hello, Sarai, how are you today? Long time no see you. Are you okay? Yes.
Yes, me.
Excellent. Excellent. Is everything okay with your
Yes,
family? Yes.
yes,
Excellent.
me. Thank
Okay,
you.
very good. Thank you for attending my link today because, well, as I was explaining, Guillermo, there was a little issue with the one from school. So I have to do an adjustment, right? And tomorrow I'm gonna see you at 8:30 because I won't be able, you were not here before, Sarai. I won't be able to see you this coming Friday. But I have already talked to the coordinator and told me to start giving you part of the class, right? It was supposed to be today, part of the class in order to finish tomorrow, but well, I couldn't do it. So tomorrow at 8:30, right? I will let you know if we already have the a school link from Zoom established, right? I will let you know in advance, of course. And
Okay.
let's check yesterday's homework. I don't know if you could finish. If not, let's finish and check. Yesterday's homework was about this conversation. We have been talking about the previous two classes after the break, this spring break. We have been talking about reported speech, right? Reported speech in statements. Yesterday we were talking about questions and commands. Yeah. Okay, so we are gonna finish on page 99, exercise 5. Let's check. Yesterday we started a little bit, no? Just checking the a conversation in, of course, in the exercises from the book. But now this one, right? In exercise 5. Yes, could you finish? So which one which ideas did you change? So you look tired. So you say, Anne told Roy what? Told Roy, because it's a conversation between Anne and Roy. Yes? So Anne told Roy what? A statement. So present simple changes into
So,
past
Ron
simple.
explained that kid had been
So but in this one,
sleep deprived for weeks.
that he had been sleep deprived for weeks. Okay. And Anne asked, that is no question, and ask
Anna asked if something was wrong.
if something or whether something was wrong. Because present simple into past. Correct. Thank you. Are you a little lost, Sarai? Because we were refreshing the previous 2 days, the previous 2 classes. This about reported speech. And I don't know if you could catch up or not at all. Not at all?
Yes,
A little?
yes, a little.
A little. Okay. So let's try just to um let's say sum up very quickly, because today's class is about other vocabulary and listening ideas, but let's try to do it quickly, right? So in reported speech is in Spanish, right? Ella le dijo a él que había pasado esto. No, pero él le contestó que eso no era verdad, right? So it's similar to Spanish, right? In that case. So it doesn't change a lot. So that means that when we have a direct, of course, a conversation like this one in direct speech, and we want to change it into indirect speech because we are gossiping probably with other people, or because this is about the news or other context, right? Or other context or another context. Of course, we have to change, no? We have to make the conjugation changes, right? In a statements, present into past simple into past perfect, or present perfect into past perfect, yes? And will into would. So there are certain typical changes, right? In statements. But all this is just in statements. In questions, there's no questions, right? We use if or whether after ask or after other verbs, no? As we can see, we have not just tell and say, we have explain, ask, assure, mentions, say, query, refused, etc., right? But in WH questions, what, were, etc., we just used in the indirect speech or indirect in reported speech in the questions, we use just the positive statement. It's just like an statement, an statement. So instead of making a question, we don't use any auxiliary verb, right? We use just a statement form, a statement structure. And commands, yesterday we were talking about commands, orders, or instructions. We use just infinitive, infinitive to, or infinitive not to in negative form, right? So that's why it was for homework, just to practice a little bit further, right? Okay. If you are a little lost or you continue lost, Sarai, in this issue, try to catch up. The previous classes are in the video classes are in the Moodle of Plus, in the virtual class. Try to catch up this week, and you can tell me if you have any further questions, and I can explain it to you, of course, later on. Don't worry, it's okay.
Okay, Miss, thanks so much.
No problem, no problem. So that's why we are just, let's say, checking, right, this homework. So as Guillermo mentioned, and ask if something was wrong, right? Because present changes into past. But, okay, this is a question if or whether. And hello, Alan. Good evening. Thank you for attending this link.
Hi, Miss.
Hi. It's just work-related stress. So, Roy assured, what? Remember that everything is in past. So, Roy assured, well, not everything, all the reporting verbs, no? All the reporting verbs are in past. So, he assured, reassure what? In this case. Sure.
Roy assured
It
it was.
was just word relations.
It was just related, work-related stress. Yes, of course, easy. Then, a statement again. I've been under a lot of stress. Unmentioned. We are just changing pronouns. Unmentioned she.
And unmentioned.
Have.
She had
Present
been.
perfect into past perfect. She had been under a lot of stress. Stress too, no? In that case, yes, correct. They, and also Anna. And so Anna said, or mentioned, no? Mentioned she had been under a lot of stress too. Her boss. She said,
very difficult person.
She said her boss was a difficult person. And she confessed what? We will continue talking about them. So she confessed.
She had a secret.
She had a secret, no? Easy peasy, yes. Sarai, yes, of course. And we continue with Anne. She refused. She refused case, even though it is want, you want, well, we can change it into wouldn't, no? She refused, but after refused, after the verb, this reporting verb refused, after certain reporting verbs, is pretty important to use certain patterns. And after refused, after admit, and after certain verbs, we use infinitive too, instead of using another conjugation. So she refused to tell what? To tell whom? She refused to tell because she confessed she had a secret. And she refused to tell Roy, no, to tell him. She refused to tell him, right? She refused to tell Roy or to tell him. And in past, the verb past, think, and thought, he
will
laughed at
you will
her,
at her. Yeah.
at her, because we have to change also the pronouns. She thought Roy or he, no, he would laughed at her. And Roy promised what? Similar to the one with refused, but in negative, infinitive in negative, so it would be promise he
Roy
would. We can say he promised he wouldn't
not-
promised. He promised he wouldn't laughed or not to laugh. Both
Not
are
to
possible. Both are correct. Wouldn't laughed or not to laugh, right? And finally, admit and encourage. And admitted what?
and admitted she listened
To solfege
to
frequency in YouTube, on YouTube. And she encouraged Roy or encouraged him. Encouraged. So we use encourage instead of should. So encourage, this verb is substituting should. Not this piece of advice, this modal verb. And she encouraged, we don't say she encouraged should. No, she encouraged him. To give them a try. To give them a try. Anyway, let's check. Let's listen and check the answers.
11.15. 1.
Anne told Roy he looked tired.
2.
He explained he'd been sleep deprived for weeks.
3.
She asked if something was wrong.
4.
He assured her it was just work-related stress.
5.
She mentioned she'd been under a lot of stress too.
6.
She said her boss was a very difficult person.
7.
She confessed she had a secret.
8.
She refused to tell him.
9.
She thought he would laugh at her.
10.
He promised he wouldn't laugh.
11.
She admitted she listened to solfeggio frequencies on YouTube.
12.
She encouraged him to give them a try.
So I know that until this moment, well, until yesterday and until this moment, we haven't checked certain patterns from reporting verbs, right? Reporting verbs patterns, because there are a lot of verbs, as you can see. It's not just say and tell. Now we have encourage, admit, refuse, mention, argue, urge, etc. But I promise I will upload. I know that you are busy people, guys. You are most of the times. working or with your social life, no, of course, or other things, no, or courses, etc. But I will encourage you, I will recommend you to check this. Just check these patterns. You don't have to memorize them, but you have just to identify them, right? So check the it's not a link, it's just a document. Check the document. These days or this weekend, right? Remember that I won't be able to be with you this Friday. So, well, you have probably chance to do it this Friday or at the weekend to check the document, no? Just to check the patterns of certain report numbers, because it's important, yes, that you will at least identify them and know them, yes? I'm gonna let you know when exactly I have already uploaded, okay? Any questions until here? Well, I know that you have just to refresh, no? This information, catch up, of course, Sarai and Guillermo and Alan.
No problem in this.
Oh, easy, right? Clearer, no? After more practice, no? It's clear. Okay, we have been talking about fake news, right? Or fake and fiction, right? How often, guys, how often do you listen to fake news? I mean, not that you do it on purpose, but have you listened to fake news or fake information? So information that is not true? Have you read information that is fake?
It's most common to find this kind of news in some social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok,
Yes, it's pretty
and
common.
particular in this place.
Yeah, social media, TikTok, Facebook, probably also in certain videos, no? Well, TikTok is video. Probably YouTube is not that common as it was in the past, but it still, no, continue some videos, no, on YouTube, and sometimes they are not really authentic, no, or let's say official news
So
or
good.
official information, no? It's like somebody invented it, or I don't know, right? Okay. In this case, why do you think we are in the previous lesson? Sorry, I didn't tell you. So in lesson B, talking about fake news, of course, and we are going to start with exercise 2 that I think is okay to start with this one because we are going to discuss for a while. Why do you think is such a problem these days about this fake news? Here we have some reasons. So read them and tell me which two of these reasons do you think are the most important in
So, well, I think maybe the fears and the tear.
the third?
Well,
Why, Guillermo? Why?
I think a lot of journalists and this type of webs maybe don't confirm the information or the place where this information come. So maybe take the first thing these people saw and put in the maybe in the social medias or the journalist page in their tier. Maybe I think a lot of people played in the new more I know what do you say, maybe um,
What do you want to express?
irrealista or
Unreal.
yeah,
It's unreal.
unreal news. Well, the very famous in the pandemic. Well, the
The pandemics.
5 the 5G have in the what do you say vacuna?
Vaccine.
what the vaccine have a cheat with control the people.
Ah,
Okay,
yes, it was pretty
I
common,
think,
right? All
yeah,
these
well,
conspiration theories, no? Yes,
yeah,
there are
well, I
theories, no?
think maybe this type of fake news attract a lot of people with the, it's strange. This is the new, well,
So
in the people,
popularity, no?
yeah, or the
Popularity
popularity.
for some journalists.
It's
What do you
strangers.
That is strange. And what do you think, Sarai and Alan, about this? Thank you, Guillermo. Yes. Guys?
Maybe controversial news stories attract more clicks is maybe the first or the principal points the people do this kind of activity because with some fake information you attract the people, the attention of the people, and the curiosity. I don't know how they say curiosidad.
Curiosity.
The curiosity
Mhm.
is more for the cities, and it's okay. I click the news, read, it's fake. But that put attention in that.
Pay attention. Pay attention in that. The collocation. Pay attention. Thank you, Alan. Yes, very good. Sarai, do you agree? You disagree? Or do you want to add something?
Well, maybe I think that some reporters that post stories um too fast sometimes, and they don't make sure the facts are true. So they put wrong ideas. And also maybe the people that are attracted to these titles. Um, well, I think the clicks and more clicks, and well, the websites earn more money. So I think
Yes.
it's a problem, but it's I don't know, it's no sé, una
A trend. Es una
y-
tendencia. A trend.
yes.
A trend. It is a current. No, it's a current trend.
Yes.
It's a current trend. Trend. Or nowadays. No, nowadays trend. That is like a competition, no? Of popularity, right? It doesn't matter that it's true
Yes.
or no, right? Who cares? And so all of a sudden, how do you know, guys? How do you know the difference between fake news and no fake news and real ones? How do you know that? How do you confirm that something is real or no? Has it happened to you? And you say, no, is that news real or fake? You have to
Yeah,
confirm,
this
no?
are the news very real or controversial. It's accurate. Is good say. It will say.
Controversial or unbelievable sometimes,
Unbelievable. Yeah.
unbelievable. So you say, no, I
Maybe,
have to confirm.
yeah. This new, I think a lot of times is in only page or journalist will are real new in general. It have a maybe a lot of people talk about it.
Yeah, it can be, no? It's the most common thing. Okay, talking about fake news, let's listen to a reporter, to a journalist. Here we have this reporter. And which ideas from the previous exercise are mentioned. And of course, what is his job? I think it's going to be pretty easy because we have been talking about it, no? About his job, but which ideas have been mentioned, right? About the previous ideas that you mentioned, guys. Okay. Let me know that you are listening correctly, please. subtitles, of course. Okay, here we go. Let me know.
Hello and welcome. I'm
Yes.
Eric Maduro.
It's okay? The audio? Yes.
Yes.
Fake news is everywhere. It's in our social media feeds, it's in our newspapers and magazines, it's even influencing our politics. But how do you tell fake news from real news? Can you do it?
Well, I'd like to think so, but I've definitely believed stories that I ultimately found out were fake. It's just so hard to tell sometimes.
I really try. I do check where the story comes from and who has written it. I might get fooled sometimes, but all in all, I'm pretty good.
I am so gullible. I'm learning, but I used to believe everything I read, even on the internet. I've believed stories that could have been written by anyone.
It's becoming increasingly difficult to identify fake news. Today, we're talking to journalist and founder of FakeNewsSpotter.com, Alan Goodhue. Welcome to the show, Alan.
Thanks for having me, Eric.
You run a website called Fake News Spotter, but tell us, what is fake news?
It's important to point out that fake news is nothing new. In fact, I think it's uncontroversial to say that fake news is as old as news itself. In the past, newspapers frequently printed sensational stories. This type of journalism wasn't responsible reporting. In many cases, it was very irresponsible, but it was popular. The media has often been used as a propaganda tool too. Propaganda can make unacceptable stories acceptable, and although the stories are often fake, they're not illegal.
But if fake news has been around for so long, why are we all talking about it now?
In a word, technology. The internet and social media allow people to produce and consume news in a way that was unimaginable in the past. Whereas news used to only be reported by journalists, now anybody can create stories that look real. It's almost impossible to tell whether it's from a responsible reporter or someone more undesirable.
Is there any way to find out?
Yes, there is. You might not always be 100% sure, but there are questions you should always ask to separate the real from the fake. These are: how believable is it? This might seem too simple, but always ask how realistic the story itself is. If it seems unbelievable, that's probably because it isn't true. Who wrote it? Most of the time, though, you can't really tell whether an article is true just by the headline. That's when you need to look at the writer too. If there is no name, the writer might not be a journalist at all. If there is a name, check out the background. Do they look responsible, or is there other material unsatisfactory too? What is the evidence? If you've checked the writer and it's still hard to tell, you need to look at the evidence yourself. Is the source satisfactory? Always say to yourself, could this have been made up? And of course, facts and figures are always desirable.
That's a lot of hard work.
It is, but it's worth it. And it gets easier the more you do it. If you don't ask these questions, you may have already been fooled.
Which is what happened to a lot of people in an experiment you did recently.
You can say that again.
We'll talk more about that in part 2. Join us then.
So, well, he mentioned many things, of course. And what, from these previous ideas that we were talking about for a few minutes, did he mention?
Fake news isn't necessarily legal.
Illegal or legal?
Illegal.
Illegal, yes, he mentioned the second
Controversial
one.
news stories attract more clicks.
As you mentioned.
The propaganda.
The propaganda, of course. The propaganda.
And fake news can sound belief sometimes.
Believable. They can
Believable.
sound believable. Believable.
Believable.
Believable. Yes, I
Believable.
know that. Believable.
Believable.
Yes, it can be like a tongue twister, no, Alan? Yes, believable.
Believable.
Believable. Like believer. Believable. Yeah, many times, no? Yeah. So do you remember talking about fake news? Are they just a trend now? Is just a nowadays trend, or it was for a long time ago? Is this just new, talking about fake news?
No,
No, it
it's
is.
not a new trend.
No, it's like having printed press, no? It's as old as having printed press. So sensational news have always been around all the time, not just nowadays. But what is the difference now? You mentioned it at the beginning, Alan, Sarai.
Maybe the difference between the last news and the new news is the artificial intelligence.
Technology.
That's the
Yes.
technology is the
Technology.
best tool for
Yes.
the human have.
Because nowadays it's very
And the last news, the old news, maybe the factor is the people didn't have the information easier, so they believe the radio station or the new, but don't have another
source
source
of
to get the
information.
information.
Yes, and nowadays it's like worldwide, no? It's very quickly, and it's of course international, just with a click, no? So it's easier, no? It's faster, easier, but also it's more common to be fake, no? As well, as I mentioned, no? It's more common to be fake. Okay, so they mentioned something about an experiment. Yeah, they mentioned something about an experiment that Alan, this journalist, did. So let's check about his experiment and answer these questions about his experiment, please, guys. Okay. So let's check about this, about his experiment. And it says watch, and then we're going to go back. But okay, watch the second part. Watch the second part of the show. Well, you will listen. What story did Alan create? The first one or the second one? What story did he create? Well, it's the same story, in fact, no? But just take notes, What story did he create? And, okay, according to these pictures. And also, order this in what happened. Well, what happened to this story? In this case, it's not ordering. The order is in the second part. Sorry. What happened to this story? Everyone quickly realized it wasn't true, or it appeared on a TV news program, or Alan sent it to a various new organizations. Right? There is just one correct answer. Probably you would listen to the different, of course, to the different options, but there is just one correct answer, right? According to his experiment. So let's listen in this case.
11.9.
Welcome back. The topic of today's discussion is fake news, and journalist Alan Goodhue joins us from London. Alan, you're responsible for one of the most controversial fake news stories of the last year. It's gotten a lot of attention.
That's right, but I should say it was part of a social experiment.
And didn't you make sure that everybody knew it was a fake?
Yes, I did. Although there are still people out there that believe it.
For those that missed it, can you talk us through the story? It was about a polar bear, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It all started last winter. I was in Scotland with my family, and it was the coldest day imaginable. At the time, I was reading a lot about fake news. So I decided to do an experiment. I took a photo of a polar bear and pasted it onto a picture of the Scottish Highlands. I mean, it looked fake. Then I wrote a completely unbelievable story about a polar bear sighting in Scotland. I created a social media account with a fake name and shared the story.
Then what happened?
It went viral. People started sharing it as a joke at first, but then some started to think it was real. Before I knew it, the story had spread around the world. But the worst thing was when I saw it on a news channel. They reported my fake story as real news.
And were you surprised by the reaction at all?
Yes, I was. As a journalist, I found it totally unsatisfactory. It wasn't a believable story to begin with, but even if you knew nothing about polar bears or Scotland, you could have found out it wasn't true very quickly. I mean, lots of people did, but many others, including journalists, clearly hadn't done any research at all.
So, did you do anything after you saw it on the news?
I most certainly did. I told everybody I could that it wasn't real, but that didn't spread as quickly as the story itself.
It must have been frustrating that it spread so fast.
It really was, but it could have been worse, I suppose. That pushed me to start my website, and we now have over 1,500 registered fake news spotters.
And it's definitely a worthy cause. If you'd like to join, check out fakenewsspotter.com. Thanks, Alan.
Thank you, Eric.
That's it from us. Have a good evening.
So what kind of fake news did he create? And your same name, Alan, Guillermo Saray. What's happened? So the fake news, of course, as we have the headline, no, is polar bears sighting in Highlands. What are the Highlands? Mainly in Scotland, no?
Yeah, so in
Scotland or
another
Ireland.
place.
Or Ireland, Scotland mainly, right? That is in the north, no? Of England, of course. But, okay, what happened to the news? What happened from the three possibilities?
I think maybe letter B. It appeared in a TV news program.
It appeared on a TV news program. And it went viral, no? It went viral. And a lot of people believe it.
Yes, a lot of people believe the fake news. Yes,
Fake news.
become the new in trend.
Yeah. So Alan tried to explain it, no? On a program, but it was very difficult. It wasn't that viral as the fake news in that case, no, in that context. So it was difficult to explain it, no? So okay. It was a joke at the beginning, but then it went viral, no? And that happens nowadays, no? Very common because of social media, as we explained it at the very beginning. Okay, talking about this fake news, okay. Case, read the listening builder that we are going to check, and circle the flap in the underlined part of each sentence from the video, right? What would be the idea of the flap? What would be the idea, guys? Okay. Meanwhile, you tell me, let's check the listening builder, right? Can you tell me, please, Guillermo? The flap in American English.
Yeah, so the flat in American English. In American English, when the sound it follows a vowel, and then
vowel?
it's a vowel, and then it's word begins with a vowel. The D can sound like a very light D to listeners, or even an R.
R, an R, or even an R.
This also occurs when there is a D in the middle of a word.
Example given.
Example, better. Oh yeah, this sound is called a flip.
Flap. So American English is better, no? We know that American English is more common here in America, of course, right? But in Europe, they say better, no? Better, no? The T sound. Or I wish I could help you with, but I can't, no? I can help you, but I can't, no? But I can. Or grab a coat and put it on, no? Put it on. So we know that these are, of course, link, no? And this is called flap here in America, of course, not in Europe, right? Okay, in this case, where does a flap happen? That the T sound is a lot of, no? A lot of. Thank you, Sarai. Any other?
It was a polar bear.
About a polar bear. And in that case, probably in arrow, no guys, arrow. You don't say at. Oh no, arrow. Then
Maybe at.
In which one? In
the tier. With the direction at all.
arrow. Yes. Any other? Let's listen. Let's check.
11.10. 1,
It's gotten a lot of attention.
2,
It was about a polar bear, wasn't it?
3,
And were you surprised by the reaction at all?
4,
So, did you do anything after you saw it on the news?
5,
It must have been frustrating that it spread so fast.
Did you listen another flap that is pronounced different, right? Differently, not as a T. No, just from 1 to 3.
Maybe you saw Iran.
That it's after you.
Sorry, on the news. Okay. So the flaps, of course, as you mentioned. A lot of up, about arrow, sorry on, and that it. No, that it. Because remember that we have a vowel sound, no, after the T. So it's mainly with vowel sounds, of course, not with consonant sounds, but with vowel sounds, and it's very common, no, very common to be pronounced as a D or R, but a light, no, a light R, arrow, in this case, about, no, etc.
Yes. It's possible to give some recommendation between this part. I send in the chat that is an Instagram, Martin Linda Blackout. He tried to explain with some examples. Maybe an example, he put or show some short part of the video and try to explain how to pronunciation and this kind of examples try to explain, and it's good
how to pronounce, of course. Exactly. Yes, for example, if you
how the Americans pronounce.
If you like certain, especially for I wouldn't say movies because they are very long, but I will say certain series that are longer because they have different seasons. But if you choose one scene, just one single scene from one of your favorite series or your favorite movies. Just focus on one scene. And we can do that as well, no, from time to time, but do it as much as possible on your own at home. So just play it, I don't know, 2 minutes, and try to identify all the flaps. Of course, American series or American movies, because if you watch Australian or British, no, that would be different pronunciation, of course, no? But if you want to identify the ones from the US, right? Because in the US, we have different regions, no? In Texas, in Boston, that is, of course, the north part, in New Jersey, of course, in Ohio, in Cleveland, right? So we have different accents, similar pronunciation sometimes, but different accents as well in the same country, just as in Mexico, right? According to the region. So try to start doing it. I know probably every weekend or every week that you have 20 minutes or 30 minutes, try to do it just in one scene. Just focus on one scene, and then with the closed caption, and try to do this to identify these patterns. No, T before a vowel sound. No, a T before a vowel sound. Trying to identify these patterns, right? And how do they pronounce it? Is this T pronounced before the vowel sound in this scene as a light D or as an R, right? And then try to not just identify, also practice, no? Pronounce them, right? Because as I told you, it depends on the region, no? From Los Angeles, from New York, that would be quite different. So, but that will be very, very useful, very enriching. And then try to do it with another scene from a British, and then an Irish, movie or scene. And then you will notice the differences. And then after a while, you will be surprised that you can identify the different accents, no? From different, of course, regions in the same country or even from country to country. So that is the first part, identification. So identifying and then practicing. It's not necessary that you imitate, guys. Some students have told me that they like to imitate the British or the American or the Canadian or the Australian accent. You can try, and of course you will accomplish that if you do it. No, if you do it every single day or every single week. But it's not necessary because we have our own accent, because we have Latin accent, and it's okay because it's part of our identity, right? Nationality. The idea is that you identify, because the idea is that you can maintain a conversation with native speakers as well, not just with Chinese people or Korean people or Indian people speaking in English, no? But native speakers, that is the most difficult sometimes to get, no? Yes? Or with songs.
Yes.
With songs, but
Yes.
I think it's better with some movies or some scenes of movies or series that you love, because that will be also entertaining and you will enjoy it. So you will enjoy and learn and practice at the same time, no? So try to do it at least this weekend and you will tell me what's happened on Monday. Yeah? Okay. So this is very useful. So in that case, let's check just the last part. Let me check. It's the same. Sorry. I'm a little confused today. No, this is about the strategy of identifying conclusions that we were doing, and you have been practicing a lot because you need it at work. Some of you, like Alan, for example, sometimes Guillermo, because you need to watch tutorials or phone calls or video calls with clients, I guess. Sarai, you are in the Mayan Riviera, and of course, there are a lot of foreigners there, right? So you listen And I can notice your progress, guys. You have been progressing, not just in grammar, also in listening and speaking, of course, yes, but more practice. Practice is necessary. So when we listen to these conversations, in this case, informal or neutral, so I would say that this one between the presenter and the journalist was not that informal or that colloquial, but kind of informal. And they speak quickly, no? As we have been mentioning. It can sometimes be hard, no, to identify not just the pronunciation, but also the conclusions, right? The logical order, or a problem described, or certain expressions, right? To show key points, no, or main points. Words related to the main topic or the main theme, expressions that imply a sequence, no? Similar, of course, or sequence words, no? So that will be also hard because not just because of the pronunciation, also the vocabulary, right? So let's practice just a little bit about this, right? When I'm speaking, of course, quicker, no? When people are speaking quicker. And I would say that we can practice tomorrow as well, right? The thing is that, for example, here, guys, well, in this case, this is my private account, but I have to use the school account, the school Zoom account, and we have been said that we have restrictions because remember that this is a stream, being streaming on YouTube, on the YouTube channel, in order to have it in your video classes, right? In Moodle, and as this is for educational classes, but these are private classes, we cannot use more than 2 minutes. 2 minutes from copyright material. That's why I don't use a lot of songs or I don't use a lot of videos now because it's not possible to use it for more than 2 minutes, and 2 minutes is really short. So I would recommend you to do it at home and at least 5 minutes. That's why, because we have that restriction as teachers, especially because we are recording these classes on YouTube channel. And these are private classes, of course. These are not open classes, right? That's why. So read this, the skill box that we have checked about the different, of course, conclusions, some people can say, and number the conclusions below in the order you hear them according to Alan's speech, remember? First part of his speech. So fake news is not a recent phenomenon. It's getting harder and harder to know if news story is true. You may need to do research in addition to reading the article, and there are ways to find out if a news story is fake, and anyone can now create fake news easily. So what did he mention first? So from 1, 2 to 5, please. What did you mention first?
11.8.
Hello and welcome. I'm Eric Maduro.
Try to.
Fake news is everywhere. It's in our social media feeds.
Let me check, guys, because the introduction is a little long. So let me try to forward a little, just to listen to the journalist, not to Alan.
Welcome to the show, Alan.
Thanks for having me, Eric.
You run a website called Fake News Spotter. But tell us, what is fake news?
It's important to point out that fake news is nothing new. In fact, I think it's uncontroversial to say that fake news is as old as news itself. In the past, newspapers frequently printed sensational stories. This type of journalism wasn't responsible reporting. In many cases, it was very irresponsible, but it was popular. The media has often been used as a propaganda tool too. Propaganda can make unacceptable stories acceptable, and although the stories are often fake, they're not illegal.
But if fake news has been around for so long, why are we all talking about it now?
In a word, technology. The internet and social media allow people to produce and consume news in a way that was unimaginable in the past. Whereas news used to only be reported by journalists, now anybody can create stories that look real. it's almost impossible to tell whether it's from a responsible reporter or someone more undesirable.
Is there any way to find out?
Yes, there is. You might not always be 100% sure, but there are questions you should always ask to separate the real from the fake. These are: how believable is it? This might seem too simple, but always ask how realistic the story itself is. If it seems unbelievable, that's probably because it isn't true. Who wrote it? Most of the time, though, you can't really tell whether an article is true just by the headline. That's when you need to look at the writer too. If there is no name, the writer might not be a journalist at all. If there is a name, check out the background. Do they look responsible, or is there other material unsatisfactory too? What is the evidence? If you've checked the writer and it's still hard to tell, you need to look at the evidence yourself. Is the source satisfactory? Always say to yourself, could this have been made up? And of course, facts and figures are always desirable.
That's a lot of hard work.
It is, but it's worth it. And it gets easier the more you do it. If you don't ask these questions, you may have already been fooled.
Which is what happened to a lot of people in an experiment.
Okay. So what did he mention first, guys?
Fake news is not a recent phenomenon.
Phenomenon. It's not a recent phenomenon. Correct. Then? It was the first conclusion. The second one?
There are ways to find out if a news history is fake.
There are ways to find out, no? And D, number 2, number 3.
I'm not sure, but it's getting
Harder and harder.
hard to know.
What did you say? Thank you, Alan. What did you say, Sarah? Yes? No, the third one? The third conclusion? B or C or E? I don't remember.
I think D.
D? So
Yes.
a different of course order. And then what about C and E? Which numbers did you place them? C, you place 3, Sarai. And you, Guillermo, 4? Did you agree that 5 would be E or no? Anyone can now create fake news easily? Was it the last conclusion or no?
So I don't sure.
You're not sure? You're not sure
I'm not
about
sure
it?
too.
Okay.
You.
Okay. 1 will be B, 2A, 3E, 4D, and 5C. Huge. That means that, yeah, practice makes perfect. Yeah. Tomorrow we do it again, little by little, before starting tomorrow's class at 9. But remember, guys, see you at 8:30 if possible to start just with a speaking practice, right? Yes, we're going to start with both speaking and listening practice at the same time. They are very close related. Thank you, guys. Excellent night.
Thank you, Miss. Good night.
It's more. Bye.
Care. Bye. Thank you, Alan.